and welcome back to another episode of Real Conversations. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Real Conversations is a podcast for those dedicated to doing hard things and living a meaningful life. This belief is perhaps best encapsulated by a quote from the great Teddy Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, nor where the doer of deeds could have done them better. No, the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. With that being said, welcome back to another episode of Real Conversations. As always, if you guys enjoy this episode, please make sure to share the link with a friend. It helps us grow, and we greatly appreciate it. Now, without further ado, Logan Mize. And today, we're back for part 2 with none other than the great country music artist, Logan Mize. You've got over 1 billion streams. You're a big country music artist, and you're a super great guy. Like, fun to hang out with, great to be around.
You haven't hung around me that long yet.
Yeah, well, this is part 2, and I'm excited to dive into more things than we did last time and kind of just get to – I feel like last time was more of a structured interview, and this is more of like a real conversation, just kind of getting to break things down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. We're piecemealing things together a little bit over here. It's awesome to – we got a camera going here, a camera going there. We got microphones all over the place. It's really fun.
I love that you guys relied on me to have my shit together enough that you would show up and it'd just be like, yeah, here we go, plug in and go. Because I'm still trying to figure out this. When I dreamed this up, this was going to be a podcast studio, and I still hope it will be. But I feel like I haven't had time to get in here and really dig in the way I want to. So
your setup is really cool, and I think it's neat too that you're doing it here in Andale. Like, most people are in Nashville trying to do their thing, and you came back home to the general area that you're from. And kind of where I wanted to start was, what is it that has grounded you? Like, most country music artists, I feel like, are off kind of doing their thing. They feel like they need to be in this big area like Nashville or somewhere in kind of that southern area. But you went back home to where you were from, and you seem like a great family man, strong values. What has grounded you?
Oh, man. It's just so important to me to have something. When you're in Nashville, there's this kind of, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but making it in the music industry can kind of become your religion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like, selling your soul just to make it in that town. And you almost have to. I mean, the town will beat you up. But I kind of figured out early on, you don't need that town. You don't need, and nothing against Nashville. It has its place, and I like it. I love the people in the music industry. But all they are is a middleman to get you to the fans. And once you realize you can go directly to your fans without having to have some corporate guy, granting you with, the ability to get fans,
Right.
You kind of go, okay, so I can be a normal person who doesn't have to worship the music industry. This is the town that I was married in to my wife. We're both members of that church, and I feel like, faith and family and all that stuff comes way before, going out and being a rock star. I mean, that's just, if I can make a living writing songs, then that's icing on the cake,
With that being said, though, you're still touring. We went out and saw you play in a Belle Plaine, I think is where it was. And that place was packed. It was a good time, and you're super busy and you're always on the run. How do you balance all of this? With your family, having a career, having different projects you're working on, how do you make that all work?
Well, it's not always easy. I mean, there's been lots and lots of struggles, but there's going to be, if you're going to get ahead getting ahead, I don't know if that's the right term. If you're going to have success in any arena, you're going to have to stick your neck out there. You're going to have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to do things you don't want to do. And I think that's the biggest misconception is, doing this, it's like, well, you wake up and you go strap on a guitar and play songs and you get paid, and you must be living the dream. I mean, that's 5% of it. There's 95% of it's just work, and you have to make sacrifices to do that. I've missed so many birthdays and baseball games and holidays. I mean, there's been times my son had a major head surgery, and it was we're in the hospital, and 8 days later it's okay, you got to go. You got to go make money because my family's there all helping with him. And next thing you know, I'm in a van driving to Columbus, Ohio. What the hell am I doing with my life? So it's not always just the rock star life at all.
How do you get in the headspace to perform? Because with travel and everything that you're doing, I feel like it can be hard. Like your son's in the hospital, you have a lot of different things going on. How do you get up on stage and still have that persona and bring that energy that you need to?
Some days are way easier than other days. Like there's some days where you show up, especially if you're fresh. If you've been home recharging for, a month, and then that first weekend out, that first Thursday that you hit a club in Des Moines or whatever, you're ready to rock, man. You get through the middle into the tour, you start thinking about how many things you missed out on. Even if it's I didn't get to hang with my buddies the past month, I didn't get to see my kids, and then that wears on you. Maybe you're a little bit hungover, maybe you haven't slept a ton, and everything starts wearing on you, and they're like, wait, now I got to get up there and be the life of the party for a show. It's like, okay, how do I turn this switch on? There's times it's tough, but that's just part of the gig.
Do you feel like you have like a mindset that you're able to shift into, like when you don't want to do something, you have to force yourself to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a muscle you've been able to exercise, or like how do you actually get into it?
The best way, honestly, is just as much physical activity and rest as you sleep when you can, and then force yourself to go do something hard during the morning. Like I'll go run 5 miles, or I'll do 300 burpees, or just something that I don't want to do.
300 burpees, man, that's a lot.
Well, there was a time where when I was really touring heavy, this is like 2015, where I would force myself to do 300 burpees every morning, because I was like, if I can get through that, then the rest of the day is going to be fine. Yeah. And if it would be 100 degrees out, it'd be like, I don't care, I'm going to do my 300 burpees, and then all the other crap's going to be easy. And so I kind of started doing that like really early on, and I've kind of stuck with it. And if I get out of that routine where I get out and do something physically hard, I'll suffer the rest of the day,
There's something to be said for like doing difficult things and how that translates into other areas of your life. Like exercising that muscle of, I don't want to go do X, Y, and Z, but because I got that difficult workout in, I now feel like I can show up and do those hard things in my other areas of your life.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Just do something you don't want to do. Do something that makes you uncomfortable, and then everything else becomes comfortable. So
talking back about that tour that you've been on, where all did you go, and how's that been going? I know you've been all over the place.
Yeah, we haven't been as extensive as we were in the past. Like 2019 was like the craziest it ever got, where it was like you're doing Germany, then you're doing West Coast, then you're going back to Europe, and we were just like all over the place. We haven't hit that level again, and you got to have a song really cranking to be that busy. So you want that kind of streaming success. You want a song to be hitting that hard, but at the same time, it's a lot, So we've been really kind of in a good spot the past couple years, where we're still touring, we're still putting people in places, but we're not going like a crazy amount. But we started in, I think, April, and it's just mostly been the Midwest. Basically, in the West, we just got back from California, but everything west of the Mississippi, really kind of just hitting, Iowa, like our bread and butter states.
Yeah. I saw on your Instagram story that you were having a good time coming back from California, driving back. What was that like?
Well, normally we would be in a bus. I spent 10 years driving a van. Most of the time driving my own. Sometimes I'd have a tour manager helping drive towards the end of our van years. And you think when you get in a bus, like, man, I kind of feel privileged now. You start feeling like I know how to do this shit again, And so we couldn't get a bus for that weekend. We had Fort Collins, Colorado, Grand Junction, Colorado, and then Santa Rosa, California. That was the run. And I was like, we'll strap the bus trailer up behind my truck, and let's put our big boy panties on and go do this thing. Way out, it was fine. Way back, it was like, it took us 3 days. It was one thing after the next. Well, the diesel exhaust system in my truck was acting up, and so you'd have to like disconnect the trailer. You'd have to run it 20, 30 miles and then put the trailer back on to reset the code. And then what else happened? The roads are so bad in Arizona, it was like messing up the grounding on our trailer lights, and our lights were going out, so we couldn't drive at night. So it took us 3 days to get back. And by the time we got back, we're like, all right, that was fun in our 20s. Let's not do that anymore.
Yeah.
Or wait for the van.
Yeah.
Or the bus.
The bus, yeah.
But I feel like that shows a level of like grind that you still have. Like you want to go do those shows. You're willing to
Yeah.
make it happen. I feel like a lot of artists get an ego and it's like, you kidding me? I'm going to wait for the bus. I don't need to go drive myself out there. Like, I'm so-and-so. I'm a big name. And I feel like that speaks kind of that hometown vibe you still have of, you know what? I can do this. I can figure it out. Just do it myself.
Yeah, you got to have that still. I mean, you can't ever let go of it. The minute you lose that drive to, finish what you started, then you might as well not do it anymore. So, but I'm glad I got that out of my system. I hope I'm not doing that a bunch this year.
Yeah. So this is a good question that I wanted to ask. It's a little bit deep, so prepare yourself though.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know, right? You're a good country music artist. You enjoy it. It seems like things are going very well for you. I wanted to ask, like that's all looking from the outside in. From your perspective, what makes you happy? Like what do you really like enjoy and what kind of fills your cup in life?
I mean, my kids are huge in that area. I mean, being a dad, getting to watch them grow up, and play sports and have their little personalities develop into their own people. I mean, that's where a lot of my happiness comes from. But I also am aware you don't want to base all of your happiness on, somebody else. I'm not putting that burden on them, that they have to create my happiness. I think ultimately like happiness comes from like personal responsibility. And I'm not trying to sound like Jordan Peterson, but like, if you're keeping the balance in your life, like I'm still gonna have a beer and I'm still gonna probably smoke a cigar if you put one in front of me. But at the same time, I'm gonna do things to counterbalance that too. I'm still gonna, keep my place in order, my life in order, treat people respectfully, and all of those. I think when you're doing everything that in your gut is the right thing, following that moral compass, not being too rigid one way, just kind of like keeping things balanced. I think that's where happiness comes from because you feel light, you feel, my health is good. I'm also cutting loose and having a good time. I'm fun to be around. Like I always want to be the life of the party, but I also don't want to be the idiot. You got to toe that line.
That's a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah. So, my wife would tell you different. She'd be like, you go full idiot sometimes, but, no, man, I think that there's a lot of things. And the other thing is being part of this, this is a town of 900 people we're sitting in right now. It's a really tight knit community. And man, it's just, everybody's at every event. Like after this, I'm on a cooking crew to go cook for a thing called Party in the Park tonight block over. And we got some other musicians come to town. So like, we're going to go cook hot dogs and hamburgers, and just that whole community thing is really important. And when you're living in a big city, you don't have that, So it's a mix of all those, but yeah.
I feel like with high performers, which has always been the common theme for this podcast, you have these different buckets that you're trying to fill, like you were talking about. And I usually see two different approaches. One being head down, I'm focused on filling one bucket, doing really well, like as an artist, right? And then maybe family and extracurriculars, maybe they suffer a little bit. But then once I reach X milestone as an artist, then I focus on family, reach that milestone, then I focus on some other extracurricular. And the other approach I see is do a little bit as an artist, do a little bit at the family, do a little bit extracurricular, and try and fill each one incrementally rather than head down on one. Which route do you think you kind of toe the line on more?
I definitely, I cut corners on, time that I could be probably practicing or writing. And that's not a permanent for my life thing. It's just a phase that we're in our family. Like I have an 11-year-old son and an 8-year-old girl. And I feel like these are like crucial moments of like, show up and be a dad right now, because these are the time when they remember their childhood as adults, they're going to remember this time. Like I took the extra gigs when they were young because they aren't going to remember when they were 4 years old, but right now it's like, my son walks up, hey, Dad, you play catch? I'll drop what I'm doing and play catch. My daughter's like, hey, you want to play Barbies, or you want to help me braid my hair or whatever? It's like, yeah, let's do it. So those priorities right now are what takes up most of my time. But That might change when they're in high school and they don't want to hang out with dad as much. Then it might be like, okay, now I'm going to work on guitar more. Now I'm going to work on songwriting more. So I try to walk through the open. Sorry, there's some flies in here. I mean, sorry, man. We need to get the fly swatter out. Uh, yeah, I walk through the open doors, man. Just kind of instinctually feel my way through a day. I try not to be too rigid with my schedule because the second you do that, something will come up and then you'll get upset that it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. So as long as I can fit some exercise in, spend a little time with my fingers on some sort of instrument, sing a little bit, just to keep everything moving. But yeah, I kind of just figure out naturally where to put my time, feel it out.
Yeah, one of the things that I think as a parent is I feel like you're gonna be one of those fun parents, right? Like you're an artist, you have a good time, you're the life of the party. Like you were talking about, when my kids go, they're not gonna want to hang out. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, like I always see you going out at the concerts, you're the life of the show. Like I think growing up, your kids are gonna think that's really cool. I think they're gonna be like, wow, my dad is like chasing his dream. He's doing what he really cares about. I think that's like a really cool example to set for them.
I hope so. I hope they're not embarrassed by it. Maybe when they're teenagers they will be, but yeah, man, I just didn't. I always just had this thing inside of me that I always question everything, and I still do, maybe to a detriment, but I just never believed that I had to do something that I didn't, not that I didn't want to do, because I do things I don't want to do every day, but like, I don't have to commit my life to filling a role that I don't want to fill. I just want to be creative and I want to, I want to be an artist. I just want to create things and I want to do it my own way. And I've been extremely lucky that I get to make a living doing it. So I get to provide for my family just being that. Um, so I'm super thankful for it.
We hit on this last time. Like you have a really cool story of being in college, starting to tinker around with music, and ultimately dropping out to go chase your dream in Nashville and doing all of these gigs at night. No one knew who you were, and then things kind of started to take off in a gradual progression. Whenever you were getting started and you took on all of that risk, which I think a lot of people have ideas, whether it's a business where they want to be a country music artist, whether whatever it is, of something they want to do with their lives. For you, do you think it was the fear of regretting not taking that leap, like looking back on your life when you're 60 and saying, man, when I was 20, if I would have just gone and really shot for it, what could have happened? Do you think it's the fear of regret, or was it for you, why wouldn't I do this? Why wouldn't I just go try? Like for you, kind of what fueled you to take that leap whenever you were younger in college?
There was no fear of regret involved that I remember. I think it was more of just I want to go do the most adventurous thing possible, I think. And that's limited now because, you're raising kids and you have a wife and you got to set a good example, and that's a good thing. Those are good things to have something to tie you down and keep you grounded and keep you responsible. But before that, it was like, what's the most exciting, adventurous thing I can do? And for me, it was a creative endeavor, but, sorry again about the fly, man. Just slap. But there was no fear of failure or anything like that for me. Like I wasn't worried about what I was going to regret or what I wasn't. I was just like, let's do this. This is fun. I probably sucked really bad, and it's been a 20-year commitment of trying to like get incrementally better as I get older. But, yeah, I just wanted to have fun. I didn't want to sit around and just follow the guidelines that you're kind of brought up thinking you have to do.
Yeah, you took a very unconventional path, which I think is the most fun. There's a saying that goes something along the lines of like, the truth is your adventure. Mm-hmm. So like to live in the most authentic way possible is the most exciting route for you to take your life.
Absolutely.
And it seems like that's something that you've been able to do. And I don't know if you have maybe like a high risk tolerance or what your situation is, but I think a lot of people look at that and they look at all of the downsides, all the things that could go wrong, rather than thinking about all of the things that could go right and how fun that adventure could be.
Yeah, I never look at what could go wrong, and to a fault. I've made every wrong turn you can make doing this, and I could write a book on how not to do this for sure, but it doesn't ever stress me out. Like when you're broken down for the seventh time in 2 months on the side of an interstate, you have no money, and your credit cards are maxed out, and it's like that doesn't stress me out. What stresses me out is not moving. You know, it's just like, okay, well, this is a problem. What are the solutions? Forget the negatives. That's not going to help you. What can we do to get past this? Oh, the songs aren't performing. This record flopped. Who cares? We tried it. Let's on to the next thing, you know?
So to that point, when you were getting started, in your mind, was there any way that it wasn't going to work out? Like, was there any thought of, I'm not going to be a country music artist? Or was there always like, if I keep up with my consistency, I'm making the right partnerships and I'm working towards this craft, it's going to happen. It's going to work.
There was never a doubt in my mind that it wouldn't work, but it wasn't for me. I think my end goal was different than what the conventional goal of being famous and rich and all that was. To me, was pure freedom. You know, I can make up my own songs. I can tell my own story. I can go out and perform them for people, and hopefully they'll like it. I think they will. But regardless, this is going to work. And there's no plan B. Like, I'm not going to, now, sure, I could go get a construction job if I wanted to and whatever, but I'm not even going to let that enter my mind. Like, this is going to work. This is what I'm going to do.
I love that. I'm going to check the camera real quick. Pass the mic to John.
Well, I was just going to ask, like, I've kind of been silent on this episode. This is kind of how I roll. It's just like Jacob and the host or the guest kind of just go off, and I just sit here and look pretty and just kind of hang out. I feel like it's like a live performance for me. I just kind of sit here and whatever. But I was going to ask you, have you ever gone skydiving? This is like totally it's a total 180. We were getting deep. I want to ask that because he said something about your risk tolerance. And so I was like, have you ever been skydiving? Would you go skydiving?
I do. I've been hang gliding, and okay. I had so much fun. I do that every day. Skydiving. Okay, let me explain this to you. Like the difference between wakeboarding and wake surfing. Like I've been wakeboarding. I don't like the wrecks when you're wakeboarding, right? You catch the edge of your board and you get a face full of water.
It doesn't feel too good.
It doesn't feel good. I don't enjoy that. I want to do the most fun thing, which wake surfing, you go down. It's like, who cares? I'll jump back up and do it again. Yeah. Hang gliding, it's nice. You're kind of gliding through the air. I think the violent passing of air over my head as I'm falling through the sky at 100, I just wouldn't be enjoyable enough for me. I'd be like, this is cool. I feel like the feeling, but also this,
Yeah. The only reason I ask is like, I don't know. I feel like there's just something about it. And I like that you said hang gliding and just didn't go to the area of like, no, I would never do it or something like that. I would never do anything to that sort. But I like that you said hang gliding because it's the same concept kind of. You're still flying through the air, but it's more relaxed and things like that.
It's relaxing. It's peaceful. You're not getting the risk of a perforated eardrum falling through the sky, It's just very peaceful. I'm more into like the peaceful side of things. We had to talk about MMA before this started. Yeah. It's like, I just whatever's the easiest and not easiest, but skydiving to me seems like a violent version of hang gliding. You know what I mean?
Agree. I've never been hang gliding. Skydiving, we went once when we were in Colorado, and it was a blast. It was one of the best things I've ever done with my life. But I think maybe I would more prefer to do hang gliding rather than skydiving. Yeah. I think that'd be more fun. But yeah.
All right. So
the mic out of my hand.
I hope you guys appreciate how hard we're working to make this happen as you see the mic transfer here and all the camera angles. Now, back to John's point, though. This is good. This is a great question. What would it take for you to go skydiving?
What would it take for me to go skydiving? I mean, it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. 100. Well, see, right now I'm a dad.
Right.
So all I can think about is my kids need me at least until they're 18.
Yeah.
So I would need 100% assurance that my kids have a dad until they're 18.
Yeah.
Right. So, there's a 60% chance that the chute opens. It's like, that's not enough for me because, if I plummet into the ground and become powdered bag of bones, my kids don't have a dad. So, but after they're grown, sure, let's do it.
let's cut to, I don't know, podcast episode 15 with you over the next 18 years. There's going to be a clip of us jumping out of an airplane with Logan Mize.
Right.
That'd be awesome.
Sorry.
Nice.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you too. So I had some people send questions, and this is one of my, I love interviewing you because everyone is always sending questions. They want to know what it's like to be a country music artist, and they've got a lot of great questions. So I'm going to go here to my friend Rachel. She asked, what are your 5-year goals? Like, do you look that far ahead and make goals in that regard, or kind of how do you set goals as a music artist?
I used to a lot more. Like, I'm still really optimistic, but, you know, the amount of failures that you stack up can create some, not pessimism, but creep more into like a realistic, okay, well, like before, if I would have set a 5-year goal when I was 21, right when I moved to Nashville, it would have been like, well, I'm going to sell out arenas by the time I'm 25, you know? Where now it's like my goal is less about gaining. Sorry, the flies,
Dude,
man.
These flies are crazy.
Yeah, they're bad. It's less about, how do I word this? My 5-year goal now would be like, what's the best possible music that I can make? And how can I keep myself in the best possible health to go perform it in the best way, so that when people walk away from a show, they go, that was like an A+ thing, and they get better every time we see them. And it always feels like upward trajectory. I always want things to feel like they're going up, because if you have a 5-year goal of getting to the top of your game, then what then? You know, then you ride the slope back down. I always just want to be kind of slowly moving upward. And I think that's how I feel about 5 years from now. I hope that 5 years from now, we've gone a long way from where we are now, and they're still going up in quality and just everything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, that's a good point. With the goals that you set as an artist, like, you have so much data at your hands from Spotify, from Apple Music, from your actual concerts and everything going on. You could get overwhelmed easily and freak yourself out by, oh, we're down 10% this month and my monthly listeners are this and what's happening. What data and what metrics do you choose to use to look at how things are going for you as an artist?
I really don't. You can look at those metrics and they will tell you if you are ascending or declining, but they change month to month. So there are some months where if you looked up your metrics of social media, streaming, sales, touring, put it all together, there's going to be months that I'm going to look at it and be like, oh my God, I'm declining. But then you might string 3 months together where it's going like this. So, you know, it's like, well, 1 step backward, but we took 3 steps forward. So I don't even look at that, because it just mentally, it doesn't do anything good for you. I think the work has, it all comes through like showing up and writing your best song and giving people your best performance and making the best records. That's where you want to be focused.
So I like your focus on that. I do want to bring this up, though, because I'm curious on your perspective. This is dumbfounding to me. I just pulled you up on Spotify. This is Spotify alone. This is not Apple or wherever else. We've already discussed you've got over 1 billion streams total. You've got your plaques in the wall behind you. How does it feel for you knowing that you have 1.5 million people who listen to you per month on Spotify? Like, if you were to actually manifest and materialize these people here in this town, 1.5 million people, what does that number feel like? Is that dumbfounding to you? How do you comprehend that?
I mean, if it was 10 people, it'd be dumbfounding to me. You know, like, people want to listen to the songs I made up, you know, or the songs I recorded. Yeah, it's cool. You know, it's like to tell that to the 18-year-old kid that told all his 16-year-old kid that told all his friends, I'm going to move to Nashville when I get older. And people, you know, just to be honest, people laughed. They made fun of it, you know? And I didn't give a shit. I was like, laugh all you want. What are they doing now?
I love that. What are they doing now? Dude, chills. I love that.
Hopefully they're still laughing. I don't care. But I mean, it used to be at 2 million, right? Now it's at 1.5. I'm not freaking out about that. We'll get back over that hump. It ebbs and flows, you know?
So there were people that laughed when you got started, like you were saying. Did you use that as a source of motivation? I'm going to prove them wrong, and like it was extra fuel in the tank, or was it not a thought in your mind? It was like, I'm going to do me. I'm not worried about what people are saying.
You can't not use that as fuel. I mean, if I would be lying if I said I was so chill that didn't bother me. I mean, I'm way more chill now than I used to be, but there was a time where definitely the furnace was burning hot, and it was all of the haters, you know, the people saying that'll never work out for you, or what are you thinking? Isn't it time you give that up and go work a regular job like the rest of us? Those things have been said to me, and every time those things are said, and the car, you know, you could be down on a hand being like, yeah, they're probably right. I hear one negative thing like that. It's like, Andy up, let's go. Get over yourself. Don't be sad. Don't feel like a victim. Fucking pull the bootstraps up and go, you know?
Hell yeah. Well, you talked about this last time too, like how one person can make a positive comment, those words of affirmation, how that can also drive you. Were there any people, doesn't matter if they're famous or not, that you remember when you were getting started that were in your corner and that said things that kind of also were that fuel and carried you through that you can remember to this day?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, the positive comments outweigh the negative ones by and large. I mean, so many people that were supportive, you know, getting recognition from other songwriters that I looked up to, other artists I looked up to, people that took invested interest. And, you know, I'll never forget when, you know, I'd opened for Dierks Bentley several times, and we were at a festival together, and I look over off stage, and my kids had some of their toys by the bus. This was when they were really little. And my wife, Jill, was standing by the bus, and he had walked over and was talking to Jill about like our set and how we were doing. Yeah, that damn flies all over. And to look over and be like, oh, what was Dirk saying? He's like, oh, he's just saying that your set keeps getting better and better. You know, just stuff like that. And then he asked you to come out and open for him again. Like little things like that keep you going. Because all the failures, when they mount up, you start going, maybe everyone was right. Maybe I do suck, you know? And nothing's better than like a small town critic who took a music theory class their junior year of, you know, high school, who wants to start critiquing. Well, if you just do this, it's like, what do you know, dude?
Well, that goes back to the very introduction of the podcast. That's why I really like the Teddy Roosevelt quote. It talks about the man in the arena. It's not about the guy who points out how the strong man stumbles. It's about who's actually out there doing it. Because everyone wants to be a keyboard warrior or a critic who's like, you know, what you're doing sucks, or you don't know what you're doing. You should try this. You should try that. And it's like, are you here? Like, are you actually trying what I'm doing and how difficult this is? Like, do you understand? Have you walked a mile in my shoes is, I think, a good way to put that.
Yeah. And what I previously said, you know, I'm not knocking anybody who's working a 9 to 5, and that's the backbone of our country. You know, I was a truck driver before I did this. You know, I framed houses. Like, I'm not knocking anybody who's out there working hard. It's just the critics that want to be keyboard warriors or people that you're close to that want to tell you how to do something that you have no idea the amount of criticism you're just walking into to go do something where you're trying to put an artistic product out into the world. So, but I love it. It's still fun.
So you met your wife in Nashville, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how old were you when you met Jill?
I was 23 when I met Jill. She was 22.
Wow. So she's also a country music artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did she believe in you off the bat, and do you think that strengthened your relationship, or kind of how did that progress?
Yeah, she definitely did. She would we'd write together, and she was always very supportive. There was a moment, and you asked this earlier. There was a moment where she's like, Jill's a very like, don't want to say A-type personality, but she definitely wants to have. Well, just any female wants to feel like they have some security, some safety. I definitely wasn't providing that as a 23-year-old for anybody.
Yeah, you got evicted from your apartment.
Yeah. So it wasn't like she felt oh, like this guy's definitely going to keep us afloat. You know, for all she knew, we were going to be living in a van down by the river, you know, for the rest of our lives. And we were engaged. And so she had every right to ask. But she goes, what are you going to do if this doesn't work out? I was like, well, it will. So it doesn't matter. You know, she's like, okay, I know. But what are you going to do if this doesn't work out? I was like, that's just not an option. You just don't quit. You just don't quit. You keep going. And then she's finally like, okay, cool. And then she's been the most supportive person in my career since day one. So
that's so cool. So with her being that type A personality, she's a country music artist too. Did she stray from the path and have a traditional job after you guys met, or did she make a leap into country music, or did you both follow that route of being musicians?
She actually, there was a moment when I first started touring. She worked at the hospital. She was ultrasound tech, and I'd get home from the road and we wouldn't have made enough to pay my band. And so we'd write the band checks out of money she made at the hospital. So that's supportive. I mean,
it doesn't get any more supportive than
right,
that.
Right. So she was helping pay payroll for like early on in the early years. Then it got to the point, you know, maybe by like 2014, 15, she was able to go part-time and then able to get, you know, be done with that like by maybe 2015, 2016. So, but yeah, she was still pulling a lot of weight further, and she was a new mom too. And I'm in a van out there. You can imagine most women having like a ton of resentment and just being hateful toward, and we had our dark ages for sure, but, she was super cool with it, and she still is. So,
and I'm sure those dark ages produced a lot of great music.
yeah, we have a brand new project coming out called the Mize. It's a duo, full blown country duo between me and her. We wrote all the songs together. First single comes out July 31st.
Your guys' anniversary, right?
Yeah, our 13th. So
congrats, man.
Thanks. Yeah, so actually it comes out July 28th. I lied. 3 days before. And all that stuff is on there, man. We didn't hold back really. But I think it's cool, you know, all the fighting, all the, you know, sleepless nights of what the hell have we gotten ourselves into? It's all on there.
That's awesome. So you said it's a joint project. You'd mentioned in the last podcast your dream would be to be in a band with your wife. Is this kind of the first step towards that?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the first step towards it. Like her first 2 solo records, I co-wrote with her, and then was able to, she asked me to come in and produce, which was really cool. But I think we just wanted to go all the way with it. Like, let's just do a full-blown duo, be in the band together, get another producer. So we're just the artists, we're just the band. And then I brought in my producer, Dan Agee. Thank God that kicked back on. It's getting hot in here. I can turn that down if you want. But Dan Agee came in and produced it and just did it right. So
that's really cool. And I hope if you guys are watching this, you're getting a kick out of, there's this fly that's going back and forth between Logan and myself, and it's on our faces, on our hats, it's on our arms. We are really working to make this episode work.
yeah, we really are.
Now he's coming over to me now.
Yeah, this is great. Okay, I want to go back to the questions from some people here. Okay, so here's a question I have for you. What's your favorite cover song to sing? This one comes from my aunt.
My favorite cover song to sing, man. Well, if I'm going karaoke night, I'm singing Little Rock by Colin Ray.
Okay.
Yeah. If me and Jill are doing karaoke, we're doing Conway and Loretta. Sorry, I can sing it right now, but I can't think of the title.
I bet you and Jill kill karaoke night. Like, you absolutely destroy.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. She's way better than me, so it's nice to be the harmony guy and let her sing lead because she crushes it. Man, I don't sing a lot of covers. I always loved doing Tom Petty stuff like Free Fallin' and all that. It was really fun. But we haven't added a lot of covers in lately. But that kind of skims the surface, I guess.
Okay, so again, My aunt, by the way, I released last episode. I had no idea. She is a huge fan of yours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so we're from about an hour south of Chicago. It's Bourbonnais, Kankakee area is where it is in Illinois. She wants to know, what's it take for you to come out there and play?
I actually have played Kankakee.
You have?
I have.
Oh.
Isn't that the Busch Light capital of the world?
She's going to be so upset that she wasn't there.
Yeah, we played. It was a barn party like sometime around Christmas, maybe 7 years ago. 2016 actually was the year, and it was really fun.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have to let her know she missed out. She's going to be kind of upset.
But yes, we'll go back.
Okay, good. Okay, another question I have for you here. Someone wants to know, so how, this is something I've been curious about too. How does it work as a country music artist, right? In terms of making money. So you have a record deal or you don't, and you make money from streams and you have live performances. What is the breakdown in terms of like how that revenue actually goes, and what goes to the band, what goes to you, what goes to the other parties?
So traditionally, the way it works is, and the models are changing a lot. Like a lot of people are going more in-house with a lot of their stuff, just because the old school model is set up with you have, your record label and their radio promo team, and it was all based on going to country radio and getting big hits like country radio. And then you had all these people that were helping that machine move. And so traditionally what happens is your manager takes 15%, your agent takes 10%, your business manager takes 5%.
Is that total revenue for the year? Is that what they're taking the percentage of?
Everything from your t-shirt sales to your show pays, your streams, your sales, your ticket sale. I mean, everything. And then on top of that, your label's probably taking a cut of all that, probably a 360 deal. They're taking all of those things. And then you got to pay your transportation, like diesel for your bus, your driver, your hotels, your bus lease, whatever. And then you're paying your payroll to your band. So let's say you go out and make, we'll call it, let's say you get a $20,000 show, which when you see that on paper, you see an artist come to town and the fair board's like, we're paying them $20,000. It's like, yeah, but traditionally the way that gets divided up, by the end of the day, if let's say you're going to, even if it's regionally close here, you're going to come home with, if you're lucky, a quarter of it. So that's probably before taxes too.
Oh, that's rough.
So yeah, it's the pie is so divided up. So a lot of, there's a lot of people that are going like moving to in-house management, moving to just like, that's why I did a lot of like booking my own acoustic shows. You got to make some money somewhere, because you can spin your wheels and go tour your butt into the ground, get to the end of the year, and you can look at your splits and see that people who are working for you are making more than you are. So, and that has happened. So, you got to figure out, like, you got to have a good team, because if the people on your team aren't pulling their weight and showing up every day and putting the same amount of effort in you're putting, it's like, well, they're working for you.
Right.
You're not working for them.
Right.
And that's what a lot of the people in the music industry forget. It's like, without your artists, you don't have a music industry. So you've seen a lot of artists pulling away and just becoming more independent, being their own label, being their own manager, or hiring an in-house staff that does all of it. So a lot of the comedians I know are doing that for sure. But
yeah,
there's still a traditional model, I'd say, that by and large most artists are following, but I don't know how much longer that'll go. And then you got your publisher too. So if you write something and your publisher's taking part, I mean, there's so many ways to divide it up.
That number gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So Spotify, I don't remember the exact number. It's like 1/100th or 1/1000th of a cent per stream.
0.0046.
0.0046. All right. Per stream.
46 of a penny per stream.
Of a penny per stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It sounds negligible. Does Spotify for you as an artist provide a reliable, strong source of income, or is Spotify negligible and it's not, you make more from going and doing shows and everything else?
I mean, I've been fortunate enough that yes, it does.
Okay, good.
So I still split. So I have my publishing company, Big Yellow Dog, also has acted as my label. And so we have a deal where we just split my master 50-50. And then they do I don't have to upload my stuff onto distributors and make pitches to the streaming services or anything like that. They handle a lot of like helping me with promo and stuff. There's a girl named Jenna who runs that label department at Big Yellow Dog, and she does a fabulous job. Like I talk to her probably more than anybody. We're on the phone every day, texting, what do you think about the artwork for this? And, they mock up, when you see like the writing and all that stuff on the front of the record, they're doing all that. So she does a really good job, and it's worth, splitting that. Because if you don't have that, you're having to hire that out. So, sorry, I got sidetracked talking about labels, but anyway.
When it comes to like merchandise, is that more of a marketing expense, or is that another strong source of income for you?
Last year for me, it was a marketing expense, but I pulled the plug. So we had a merchandise management company. So I didn't do anything. They would just design the merch for me, send it out on the road. And, they provided a seller for me. I'd have to pay him, but then it would just be like, they report back, they bring all the inventory back to them. They handle your inventory. They handle your online sales. But at the end of the day, you're really just the company owns your merch and they're selling it for you. You're just participating in like 20% of the income of it. And so at some point that didn't make sense. They were actually a great company, but I was like, man, I got to do this on my own. I'm going to start my own merch company. And that's, first year was like learning curve, where I think we did, we sold way more than we did when we were with the merch company, but we also spent more. Just like stupid stuff, like buying labels and buying packaging to send our online orders, and, all the mistakes that we made with printing stuff that didn't sell. So we didn't make any money, but we will eventually. We're trying to get on top of the game with our merch.
Yeah, my first podcast was called Venture Mentality. That's what the hat is, the one I gave you. And I did merchandise with it. And if you want to do merchandise, how difficult that is insane. Like there's a level of efficiency that the top players are playing at. And at that point, you can make money. But when you're starting off, it's an expense and you're probably not going to make money. It's incredibly hard to make money off a $20 hat or a $30 t-shirt or whatever it may be.
It is. And you want your prices to be competitive, and you don't want to like just jack your prices up and sell $70 hoodies. It's like, I want to sell a $45 hoodie. But when you sell a $45 hoodie and you look at the end of the year, how much should we make on hoodies? It's like, you didn't make any money on hoodies, So, there's just, it's a lot to figure out. And especially when you're trying to write songs and make records, and all of a sudden you're worried about folding t-shirts and checking inventory. But I do enjoy it breaks up the monotony. Or like if I just sit here and I'm pounding away on a song and I don't have anything else to do besides that, I can actually just loop what I'm writing and go back there and pack boxes and send online orders out. And it gives me a nice break to think about what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like it.
Yeah. So I have two more questions following kind of this business model stream. The first one being, do you have many marketing expenses, or do you mainly utilize free marketing such as social media, Instagram, TikTok? Like, what is your main marketing strategy? How does that work for you?
Man, it's really pretty organic for the most part. We spend some money on like ads, like Facebook ads, or, Pandora ads, where it's like, you make a recording. Hey, Chicago, I'm coming on the 13th. Thanks for listening. And you target the ad in Chicago area or whatever. So there's those expenses, but we don't spend a ton of promo money. We're not like dropping more than, if we dropped $1,000, to promote a tour, that would be a lot. Like we're really not doing much other than just organic.
Well, with this podcast, I'll help you with some organic content.
There we go.
I'll chop it up for you. Last question following this kind of segment is, I went to Chris Stapleton 2 Fridays ago. $15 tickets to get in the top row. Like, it was nice to just be in the building. But it was an Enterprise in Wichita. Maybe that seats, I don't know, between 15 and 30,000 people. does performing in a venue like that, do you have to pay to play at Enterprise? Is Enterprise paying you? Are you doing a revenue split with Enterprise? How does that kind of breakdown work for playing in a venue like that?
Well, I've never played in an arena as a headliner. That's still on the docket.
Soon.
But yeah, soon. But like big clubs like the Cotillion or whatever, I can tell you, they'll give you a flat guarantee, and that's basically an estimate of what they think that the minimum or the maximum they can pay you with minimum risk, I guess, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. And then they'll do like an 80-20 door split. So they take 20%, you take 80%. And that's a decent deal. And then you go versus. So here's your guarantee of X amount versus 80-20 door split. And then you go in there and if you sell 1,700 tickets, which is a sellout at the Cotillion, then, you're making more than your guarantee by quite a bit. So depending on what the ticket prices are. So, yeah, so that's typically how those work. And then there's they call them hall fees, I think. I'm saying it's either hall fees or venue fees, where it's almost kind of a rental thing, which is like paying for the janitor to clean up all the beer cans after, just stupid stuff like that. That's built into your split. So you do get some of that costs tacked onto, what you walk away with. But the biggest part comes when you have to split it amongst your team. Venues are normally pretty nice, and a lot of people have stopped taking merch too. They've kind of, I can't remember who the first, it might have been BJ Barham at American Aquarium, or I know Sonny Sweeney said a lot about it too, but they kind of raised a fuss about small venues taking merch money from smaller level like club acts. And so a lot of places now you go, they won't even take a portion of your merch, because usually they'll charge you 20% of your merch to sell their venue. Yeah. But I haven't had that happen in a year, probably. Yeah.
I'm going to check the camera, pass it back to John here.
And so these venues and stuff, they're really banking on, if they're giving you 80 and they're taking 20, they're banking on alcohol sales other things than, just those cover fees or whatever to get in, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when they're selling alcohol and you get 500 people in a room even, and
right,
they're going to go drink, let's average it out at 4 beers each, I mean, that's decent,
Yeah, definitely. And so I guess, how does it work in Nashville? Because when we were in Nashville, like in April or something like that, they didn't charge cover. There's no covers at the door in Nashville and stuff like that. So is it just tip money at that point, with the hope that, somebody's going to be in the audience that,
like for the band?
Yeah.
They're not making much at all.
Really?
It's really tip money. And then when I was playing Broadway, this is like 2006, 7, but it was like maybe you got $200 to split between your band.
Dang, that's not much.
But that didn't include your bar tab. So with the crew that I had, it would be get to the end of our 4-hour set, and then they'd be like, well, you owe us like $80. It's like, oh, our bar tab was $280.
Oh.
Yeah, so we didn't make any money. That's why we got fired everywhere. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like $200 plus tips, and that's
Gotcha.
what that was. 18 years ago. I don't know what it is now.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, it's cool. Pass it back off.
Yeah, if you're watching the video, the camera went off. I'm not sure how long ago it went off, so we'll be piecing this together as best we can, so just bear with us.
Shoot.
It's new equipment. I mean,
Yeah.
we're learning on the fly. So I had an idea for you too, all right? This is not my idea, but this was a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Now, I think for a song title, right, it's hard coming up with the song title. And I think it'd be really cool if you made a song and called it Real Conversations.
Real Conversations. I dig it.
Yeah, it's a good name, right?
I kind of like that, yeah.
Now, the only thing that I'm going to require is a feature on the song.
Okay.
Now, I can't sing at all. I don't even need to be on it.
Yeah.
Maybe just put like features Jacob O'Connor or something like that.
Right.
That's been a bucket list item with me for years.
One strum of the guitar. That's all you have to be.
I'll do one strum of the guitar.
There we go.
And then I'll record the music video myself.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good.
It seems like a brilliant idea.
I love it, man.
So when it comes to actually making a music video, how hard is that process? Like, how long does that actually take to make a 4-minute music video?
You can do it pretty quick. I mean, you just have to have an idea and a concept. And like Jill, my wife, has done a lot of mine. She'll direct them, and I guess you call it produce them. And then her cousin Jordan shoots all of them and edits them. And then he'll have his ideas and his shot. He's really creative with his shots and stuff like that and editing. And Jill will just kind of organize like the whole, okay, we need a bunch of kids. We need to go to the football team and have them. In particular, I'm thinking of who didn't was the music video I'm thinking of. I don't know if you've seen that one, but we use the local high school football team at practice. And then we got some local kids to go to the cafe and eat. And we just like basically make a shot list of each location and what time of day we want it shot at. Like, oh, this needs to be an evening shot. This needs to be a day shot. And then you just go down the thing basically according to what time of day. So you might have to shoot the final scene. If it's a daytime scene, you might have to shoot it first in the day. You just kind of piece it together like that. But if you're organized, you can do it 6-8 hours.
That's not bad at all.
No.
So in some music videos, you see like a crowded area, maybe people walking down the street. Like, it looks very normal as the day is going and someone's just recording a video. From a legal standpoint, do you have to have the people in the background signed a waiver, or like how does that work if they're a part of the music video?
You're talking legal stuff now, and that's over my head. I would never think to ask someone to sign a waiver.
Yeah.
I would just be like, ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
That's not a bad way to do it. I'm just thinking, like, I've seen music videos maybe in New York where someone's recording a song. It's New York City, and all the people are walking behind them, and it looks really cool in the video. But I'm wondering, are they a part of the video, or are they just recording in the middle of the day?
I'm sure they're a part of the video because I was a PA on a Carrie Underwood video early on.
That's so dope.
And it was in Nashville, and it was a ton of like extra actors, and then Deaton Flanagan was doing the video, which is a big production company. They do the CMAs and all that. So, I mean, they had it down tight. But actually, if you go look at Temporary Home, the Carrie Underwood video, there's a scene where they say action, and the pedestrians who are extras start walking down the street trying to look natural, and you can see me trying to hide behind the street sign. But I'm too big this way and this way to hide. Awesome. So I can see it when I watch the video.
That's so cool. I had another question about that. Nope, I'm blanking. John, you got something?
Well, I was just going to ask. So I have a buddy. That knows a guy that I've watched a couple times. He plays, really small town. He's from somewhere in Illinois, just really, really small town. He's been to Nashville a couple times, just played random Broadway shows and stuff like that. Like, for someone like that who's trying to make it, maybe they're playing covers, maybe they've released 1 or 2 songs. Like, what's your best advice for them? Should they be taking trips to Nashville? Should they be, reaching out to labels or things like that? Like, what is your best advice for them?
Don't worry about labels. Don't worry about managers. Don't worry about agents. None of those people matter unless if you're asking for permission to have a career from somebody who's a gatekeeper, you're destined to either A, fail, or B, become a version of an artist that you don't even recognize. So what you need to do is you need to create your own connection with your own fans. And you just need to build that. And once you build an authentic connection with your audience, and it becomes undeniable that you are creating some sort of, if you need help with, uploading your stuff and getting it on your Spotify and Apple and all that, or if you need help getting photos done or video content done, you can find local people to do that. I don't use any Nashville people for my music videos. I use all local people out of South Central Kansas. You can do that. The only people I use in Nashville are my people at the label Big Yellow Dog, who they help distribute my music. But you can do that on your own. You can Google it, So don't go asking for permission to have a career. Create your own. And then slowly you can present some information to somebody. You can be like, well, okay, here's this guy at William Morris in Nashville. Hey, I can sell this amount of tickets in these cities at these venues. I want to expand outward from there. They can go, okay, well, we can help you with that. But if you go, I've never toured before, but I want to, can you get me on the road? They're going to go, no. So why even call? Yeah. Why even go down there?
Yeah.
You just don't need them. You don't need them until you have built a career that is sustainable enough to not need them.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I know he's been doing it for a long time, and he's really, really good. I really like listening to him and stuff like that. Yeah. On social media and things. So, Colton, if you're listening, just giving you a shout out here on the podcast, you know.
Keep going, Colton. Keep trucking, man.
There you go.
So I wanted to ask too, I saw that you had done, I think it was for Children's Hospital, an event in Kansas City. And I think I saw Paul Rudd was there. I think it was Darius Rucker. I think there's a lot of people there. And you got to play and perform. How was that? How cool and surreal of an experience was that?
Man, it's cool. It's so it's an event that was started, I think, 13, 14 years ago. And it's the hosts are Jason Sudeikis, Paul Rudd, Rob Riggle, David Keckner, Eric Stonestreet, and then they added Heidi Gardner as a host this year. So now there's 6. Last year, Sheryl Crow was there, and we got to be her house band or her backing band. And then this year we got to be Darius's backing band, and then we played as well. But man, it's really cool because all the proceeds from that go to Children's Mercy Hospital. I mean, they've raised it's like, I want to say $25 million for Children's Mercy. So
incredible.
Yeah. And there's no ego. All the people are just they bring in comedians, actors, musicians, magicians, everybody, any kind of stage performer. And it's just a hodgepodge of a variety show. And they do it they do it at, it's T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. And people buy tickets, they can come out and there's an auction the day before. There's a softball game at Kauffman Stadium, which was really fun. Mahomes was on our team. I just stood in the outfield. But he, at one point, he was pitching, and then he fielded a ball and then just did a no-look behind the back, throw to first base, like beelined to first base, and everyone lost their mind. It was crazy. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun.
That's super. Yeah, I think as we start to wrap up here, because we crossed the hour mark now, I'm not sure how much longer my camera's going to last. John, do you have another question for him?
I don't think I have any more questions. I just appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking with us and stuff.
Yeah.
It's time to get out here and Andale and just have a good time.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for coming. I'll see if one of these things is in tune. And my tuners are at home in the trailer. So all my stuff is spread out between my shed and